welcome to Creative Moments by G. So happy that you could stop by today. We are going to create a card that uses a fun and easy technique that I think you are really going to like. Do you ever start your crafting sessions and you think, I want to do something just a little extra special for my friend or my family? This fun technique is the one you'll want to use. So let's head down to the crafting table and let's get started. We are going to be working with faux linen. This is a fun and easy technique that you can use with, yes, just something that you already have in your crafting room. Some tissue paper, right? We all have tissue paper. This makes such a creative background that we wanted to show you the technique that you use to get it from here to here. Now look at that. Doesn't it look almost like faux linen? When you look this card up, you can look it up under faux linen because that's what it looks like. So let's go ahead and get busy. The first thing you're going to need to do is create your base card. And so we are using a black base card for this particular card. And we are using some beautifully colored paper for our first mat. So you can actually go ahead and put this mat down on the front of your base card. And I just love the way that this Melon Mambo looks against black paper. Such a pretty contrast. Now this is the one that we're going to use for our mat for our faux linen background. So let's create that background. You're going to take a piece of tissue paper. Now it is best to have your tissue paper flat without any lines on it because when you go to stamp on it, it might be creased and you might not get that full exposure that you want of your stamp set. But if it's a little more wrinkled than this, I wouldn't worry about it. And we have decided to use artistically inked. Oh my goodness, these splotches of designs make such a pretty card. So we are going to use these inks with our beautiful artistically inked stamp set. And remember, all our instructions and measurements will be listed over on Creative Moments by G. Just head on over there and click on blog and you'll find that information for you. Now we are going to bring in our stamps. We already have set up our stamps on all our acrylic blocks. Something we're going to do just a little bit different than I've seen with other faux linen cards is we're actually going to stamp a word on here. So now we are going to use our Melon Mambo to stamp the word thanks. Now I will give you a little tip when you're working with tissue paper. Don't stamp it and pull it up real fast because this is very delicate paper and so it will tear. So go ahead and ink up your sentiment and then just lay it on the paper, hold it for just a moment, and lift up. We're going to do that in a few places. Okay, and now we're going to bring in our rich razzleberry, and we are going to stamp some of our bigger flowers on there. Now we'll bring in our Melon Mambo again to get that smaller rosette kind of flower. And as you're doing this, you just need to remember how big is the mat that you will be using to cover this in. So that's what you have to keep in mind as you're designing this background. We're going to bring in some bumblebee for the center of this beautiful flower, or image, I should say. Just bring in some bumblebee. And now we want to bring in some leaves. So we're going to get our garden green. And you can tell the more that you add to this background, the prettier it gets. And now we have one more trick. We are going to bring in this pale papaya, and we are going to go all over this to give it even a deeper, richer background. So just start stamping. You can barely see it, but it really just adds some dimension. And now we want to add our final element to this beautiful background, and that's simply going to be some dots that we have. And we are going to bring those in Blackberry Bliss. And just fill in wherever you have some blank spots. Okay. So the next thing you'll do is you will take your tissue paper that you have already stamped and you will just crumble it up. Now see how I'm doing this? Crumble it up into a little teeny ball. Kind of squish it. And then simply, very carefully, because remember, tissue paper is very delicate, very carefully unwrap your tissue paper. And now, don't smooth out those creases, just let them lie, just like this. The next thing we need to do is adhere this to the top of our mat. Now let me show you a trick to do that. You need to get glue all over this. What I like to do is take a sponge and put a little bear claw on the end of it. That way when it gets really sticky after you've cleaned it off a couple times, you can just open this up and throw it away. Works very, very well. We're going to bring in our silicone mat, and we are going to just simply put some glue here, because remember, when you add your glue to the silicone mat, you just let it dry and you just wipe it off. It just balls up. But you don't have to wait for it to dry. You can always just rinse it under water and it comes out just fine. So we're going to go ahead and just put a little blob right there. We're going to bring in our cute little sponge, and we are just going to get glue all over this. Now we may not have brought in enough glue, so we're going to bring a little bit more, because one thing you don't want on this faux linen look is you don't want lines on your card. And if you just put the glue on your card, you're going to get the lines. This gets it all over. Okay, and now you want to make sure that you use a silicone mat to go ahead and put it on, because otherwise it'll stick to whatever you put. So let's get this positioned right where we want it. About right there. And we are just going to push it down. Okay. You can also use another mat to simply go over it and really push down on it. Now, if you had put this on this piece of paper, it would be stuck, and you don't want to do that. So make sure that you use that silicone mat to really put behind it as you glue it. Now look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So now what you need to do is, what I like to do is turn it over, and we're going to fold this over. But first, we're going to cut around it. And I'm just going to use some big scissors to go ahead, turn this upside down, and just cut so that I have enough to tuck, but not too much. Now stay with us because we have several cards to show you that we have used this fun, easy technique on. Okay, another tip is before you fold this over, you want to make sure and miter these edges because it really does help you fold it. So we're just going to miter them, cut close to the corner on each corner, and that way you don't have so much to tuck underneath. Okay. And now we are simply going to make sure this is not wet at all. I'll fold it over just in case. Now you can use your tape runner on this. So we will get our tape runner, just put a string of tape right there and simply fold it over. Do the other side. And fold it over. And now you can do the ends. And you can see because we mitered the edges, you don't have any trouble folding it over and it not being exposed to the front of your card, which is what you don't want. We're just going to fold it over. And look at that background. It's kind of crinkled like linen. That's why they call it faux linen. And now let's simply add that to our base card. Now we are going to bring in our glue. And look at that. Oh my goodness. We need to add a card on the inside for our sentiment. So we're going to bring that in. Now we can just stamp a few little items right here just to give it a little bit of flair. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? We absolutely love this stamp set. And now we need to stamp our sentiment again on some white paper and go ahead and bring it to the front. So we're going to go ahead and stamp it in our Melon Mambo. Look at that beautiful font. We will get out a perfect die and just run it through the machine and we'll be right back. So we have it cut out and we are simply going to add this right here and go ahead and just cut it out and give us a very small border around it. And then we'll raise it up on dimensionals. So we just have to fussy cut just a little bit. And there we have it cut out. Now we're simply going to raise this up on dimensionals. Look at that card. This technique is so much fun and so easy. I know you're going to love to do this. Now let me show you another card. This is a thank you card. And look at it. Look how pretty those flowers are and the butterfly is. We just added a little bit of flowers right here on the inside. We also created a Christmas card. Oh my goodness, we just added some pine cones, some berries, some holly on the front and squished it up. Now here's another one that we made using that beautiful tissue paper. And I love how this technique is just so easy to do and gives you this beautiful textured background. Here are our 4 cards, and then remember this beautiful card using the Forever Ferns stamp set that we all love so much. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. We hope you enjoyed this fun, easy technique called faux linen. It's a faux linen card, or better yet, you could just call it a tissue paper card. Listen, remember, go out, have a fantastic day, be kind to yourself and others, and be creative in your crafting. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.